I said to one or two people that taking the sabbatical when I did this year, one or two things happened while I was away. We went into lockdown and all the rest. But the other thing, if I remember back to just before I went off, February Circuit Council, and we set up the Shipton Fund, as we've called it, a mission and transformation fund. And part of that was looking at what I suppose, for want of a better term, was how we might explore digital church. Little did we know how important that would become. But Andy, you really taken that and sort of helped us run with it. So at the recent Circuit Council, you brought a paper, as it were, developing that. So tell me a little bit about, how you journeyed from February to September.
Yeah, well, I guess we started at that point thinking it would be good to try this stuff. I'd been involved in a number of, I've been mentored online from America for a little while, and we wanted to explore the digital arena. We thought there was an opportunity to stream worship at some level and to share it, and we knew the only way to kind of learn was to try something somewhere, and therefore we had in mind really just to almost put a webcam in churches and show what was going on and see where that went. But of course, COVID came and things changed radically. And suddenly the obvious thing to do wasn't just to stream worship, but was to engage with people interactively in worship. And what people were missing, wasn't it, was the fellowship. And still, increasingly today, it's the fellowship. And everything we've done, we've had to add the opportunity for people to see one another, to chat online in big groups. So it very quickly became apparent, and we launched lots of worship around the circuit. We had Rory doing reflection podcasts. We had myself doing a Zoom church. We had Cotmanthorpe and Haxby streaming and Huntington streaming. And it became apparent that this wasn't going to be a pot of money that was going to help one or two churches. This was going to be a pot of money that everybody was going to want to dip into. And even as we were kind of getting our act together with worship, we realized very quickly this was going to grow and grow, that it was the tip of the iceberg. And so we realized that we could spend all the money and get only a small percentage of the way. We had to begin to think more strategically. We began to realize, having encountered people online and drew new people into worship and started actually reaching people who weren't of the body of our current congregation, but people outside. We were getting substantial listeners. We want to disciple them. We realized this wasn't going to go away. If we were to shut down tomorrow, we would have the same issue of people being locked away from church who found church in the interim. So we needed a strategy of how did we use this money most efficiently, and how do we give each church what they can, the best they can have possibly. And more importantly, perhaps, as we've begun to discover, how can churches work together in this digital arena to be much more effective and efficient. That was clearly going to be a lot of work. And and even those of us who were offering the worship, we knew not everybody was called to that. We knew we needed more help, and so the circuit stewards really began to respond to, we need a team of people who can help us develop this and explore this, and I guess, reap some harvest while the going's good. But I mean, you've had a metaphor of flying kites. I've had this, idea of pioneering new things and taking risks. And I think we realized we were doing that. And lots of people were entering that space, and we needed to support and nurture that. So the two roles were agreed, weren't they, at the Circuit Council? And we initially thought we wanted one person. We broke it into two. Somebody would help with the content, and somebody would help with the strategy. And that's where we ended up fairly recently.
Part of the strategy, though, is going to be, Neil is going to come and join us to help us develop the strategy. But the paper that the Circuit Council accepted in September, has some very focused input, doesn't it, of some equipment that will help not everybody not having, like you were saying, not 30 odd churches having something, but unpack a little bit of what you've driven at there?
Well, we began to talk even before we were talking about this, that the circuit hub might be a place where, of an evening service, we might gather people across the circuit for traditional worship. And clearly we were using that facility more and more as a place where our lay folk were having hot desks, and we were gathering for staff meetings. And with the benefits we've found of meeting online, there are negatives, aren't there? But there are lots of positives, including travel and time and the environmental footprint. It made sense to me to invest at least one place where everybody was going to be using it, everybody could use it, and it's fairly centrally located. And therefore to create a Zoom room, which is the technology most of us have got used to now, that was capable, let's say with COVID gone, of having 40, 50 people meeting in a physical location, but with others meeting digitally with them. At the moment, we probably would be limited to 15 or something because of spacing, but that future investment of a place where we could, we could not only meet with people in far-flung places of circuit, but we could call in connectional expertise or even from abroad without all the expenses, which is what we've done in the connectional webinars. We've brought in real experts into our virtual meetings and drawn upon them. So to invest in one place where we can exercise that, and a portable bit of kit that we could take around to a specific church once we get used to it, and we could offer a local preachers meeting from a specific location using that kit. So that was one chunk of investment. The second chunk was really about a kit which would allow us to not just kind of plonk a webcam in front of a live worship, but have a number of cameras that we could have a close-up of the preacher, we could have a close-up of a baptism, we could look back at the congregation singing. It wouldn't be songs of praise, but it would be a step up from where we are. And people, as they get used to online worship, are more demanding of it, and they need the stimulation of things changing. So a system with multiple cameras and an ability to mix them together as the worship moves along live, and then to stream that, so that and that linked with a Zoom capability, so that digital people could join the physical worship at the same time as it's being streamed. So because one of the things we've discovered digitally is the interaction is really good. We're much more having discussions than we're having sermons. Yeah. And people, certainly in my section, we want to keep doing that. And actually that's quite hard without quite a bit of complex equipment. So we bought one set of equipment we think will allow the churches with the technical capability, with the people who can run it, to try it out, work out what's right for their environment, what they need, and then make that investment decision a bit further down the line.
So part of the strategy then has got to also involve the training and the making of material, which almost brings us to the second role that we're just appointing, and Hannah, who's joining us at the beginning of November with a job title of Creative Content Assistant. So presumably she's going to be able to develop some training material so that people who aren't so hands-on will be able to access it as well.
Yeah, so Hannah brings a lot of expertise in digital marketing. She's worked for the Theatre Royal, she's worked for the York Opera, I think, York Light Opera, one of them. She's done a lot of social media engagement, which we haven't done, it has to be said, really. During this time, we've mainly focused on our congregations, but we need to focus outwards. So she will bring some useful experience there. She's very gifted with image, and although new to video, she created a wonderful video for us for the interview, and just showed her gifts. And yes, we think that she'll not only bring that branding and advertising expertise, she'll be able to help us create high quality worship, and she'll also be able to help us help other people get up to speed and learn some new tricks, we hope.
A lot of things as we're developing new skills and new arenas, it's seen sometimes as an either or. I suspect from what you're saying that digital church, for want of a better word, it's not an either or. It is a way of adding to some of the things that are already there and enhancing some of the stuff that's already there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I fully anticipate we'll have some traditional worship as we expect it in the circuit, but we're also beginning already to see organ vespers. Well, you know, that's something that some people would have enjoyed going to see, but as the nights draw in, they would have not gone, or because parking's not great at Central, they would have not gone. We have people who are gifted in leading quiet days, and that can be offered for either the moment or for after. Steve's playing with contemporary worship. The circuit, the youth team are doing a lot of online stuff for families. We will grow a diversity. I suspect we will have fewer places where we physically worship ultimately. But maybe we'll have physical places that are showing digital worship. So we'll have a mixed economy. But I think we will achieve the diversity we've been looking at and hoping for and trying to get to without people missing out. And I'm seeing the barriers between physical churches eroding. I'm struggling with the idea that I actually have 3 churches. I now kind of have 1 church.
Or 4.
Or 4. Yeah, I've got a group of people who I don't know where to put for coffee because they don't belong to any of them. I've got people who are making connections across because they're parents together, or and I'd love to see that blossoming out into circuit, such that actually we see ourselves as a circuit church in a way we probably have always wanted to be, but never quite achieved, do we? So
I find it fascinating. I'm due to retire at the end of this connectional year after 37 years in ministry, and I feel almost as though, one is not necessarily glimpsing the promised land, but really seeing at first a real significant change. And I'm sure this is, if it's not the whole of the future, this is going to be a significant part of the future. It's really exciting.
Yeah. And even we've been talking a lot digitally, haven't we? But even the kind of the simpler provision of a prayer meeting or something to watch at home or to read at home, we're working together as staff, as lay pastors, as local preachers to develop that material such that we're using our best gifts to bring that material together and drawing on connection. We're not well served by connection, but the district are providing a service that we can use, aren't they? So, there was a time when you got the big name preachers once every 10 years, we might get them more frequently.